The Blackstone, endless side quests. Loading complete.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Blackstone Endless Side Quests. We are your fetch quest team, scraping the bottom of every labyrinth so you don't have to. Today with me, I have, as always, Kimmer. Nice to see you, sir. And we have a
Nice to see
new
ya.
almost face, waiting for our friend of ours to get his camera in order. We have Less Life, who is also an anime fan and nerd, who's joining us today. Nice to see you.
Hello. Nice to see you as well.
So before we get into it, why don't you do a quick little 30-second introduction about who you are, what you like, all that kind of stuff?
So my name or handle is Lost Life. I'm 27 years old, live in the United States. As mentioned, I'm a huge anime fan, League of Legends fan. Currently looking at a Thresh and Jinx figurine that's in my room. Even have some League of Legends posters, and yeah, I'm just a huge 27-year-old nerd who acts like a kid sometimes, and just excited to start this podcast with some friends of mine.
Sounds good. Well, seeing as you touched on League of Legends, Kimmer's like foaming at the mouth. He wants to talk about Worlds, which is going on right now. Actually, no, not Worlds, just roster rumors. And I've pulled up a sheet here to make sure that Kimmer doesn't go too off the handle here. All right, Kimmer, you can step into League.
So, even though Worlds is still going on, the off season for NA has already started. As NA is out of Worlds, Energy did do well. I'm proud of them. I'm not going to get into too much of that. A great showing. But my favorite team, Cloud9, is already making some big moves with the signing of JoJo and with the verbal agreement of Vulcan rejoining and the Berserker re-signing. We're not still sure on Fudge or Blabber. I think Blabber's going to come back because he's having JoJo. But the rumored top lane for Cloud9 is Wunder. And if that's the case, Cloud9 might do well international. I mean, we can't get our hopes up yet. It's not official, but it's just a rumor. But if it happens, you heard it from me first. Just saying. I will be breaking the news on that if it happens. I'm calling it. I'm actually calling it. Well,
Wonder is probably the only EU top laner other than Broken Blade who would fit the Cloud9 culture.
I feel like that's right.
I don't think Broken Blade would ever come back to NA though.
No, I hope he doesn't. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. But
go ahead, Les.
Just touching on my own opinion, I think Vulcan, while he is a strong player, I don't know personally how him and Berserker will mesh, just because Berserker is a very lane dominant and Vulcan is very, I wouldn't say opposite. He's not unknown for his lane, but he's known for manipulating more of the game. However, given the rumors / pickup of JoJo and potentially Wunder, they could go into a different direction that would make sense for the Vulcan pickup.
Well, it sounds like they're going for a more aggressive take after their very poor showing at Worlds. I mean, of the teams that made NA seeds, Cloud9 had the worst showing. They looked like trash. And
I can agree.
And honestly,
I can agree. Even though Team Liquid went 0-3.
Yeah, but Team Liquid had competitive games.
True.
They didn't win any.
Cloud9 was competitive against LNG, but then threw it. But
yeah.
Well, I mean, no, it wasn't really competitive.
LNG's team fighting, and I think that's what Cloud9's kind of going for. Is they're going for more aggressive. Vulcan, as you pointed out, can manipulate the game. So he is very good. And Berserker, if he just plays safer in instances where he needs to. So if Vulcan's on the other side of the map, you don't dive a 1v2 unless you're absolutely certain. So if Berserker controls his aggressive instincts, then you have Wunder doing his teleport stuff. Wunder, a lot of people who don't watch EU, Wunder is known for sacking his own lane to get everyone else ahead. He has 100%. He has the most interesting picks, and he is such a smart top laner. He's not necessarily the most dominant. He's not Broken Blade. He's not Adam in EU. But for Cloud9's playstyle, and if they get JoJo, this also unlocks JoJo to be in a space where he can be aggressive as well as be safe when he needs to. I mean, we've talked about this in the Discord. Like JoJo is, when he's surrounded by the right people, he's really, really good about doing what the team needs. The problem with JoJo is when he feels like he has to carry the game, he will either carry like 1v9 the entire game or he will throw away the game. So if you can rein that in, I mean, it's going to be and as much as I hate to say it, like I'm so tired of Cloud9 being in the finals, much like a lot of people were tired of TSM.
I'm not.
I like if C9 is going to revamp the roster and make it new blood, then I'm going to watch C9. I was getting very tired of the fudge era of C9. I still don't think that man earned his ego. His first split for sure, he was by far and away like the best top laner in the league, but he has all these things that he supposedly can do, and then he waffles on his decisions and it just looks really bad.
Yeah, to even back that up further, it's like Fudge, without even saying it, has basically said F you to the fans for the criticism that he gets. And it just doesn't, he has this very angry persona all the time. And I could understand if Cloud9 had the success internationally, and Fudge was clearing away the best top laner, but like you said, it was only really a one season wonder. And honestly, I won't even give him a full season. I'll give him a summer split because I felt like his rookie split for spring was pretty much hit or miss, which is understandable given it was his rookie split.
Yeah.
And then he learned a lot from MSI, had a big promise, went to Worlds, kind of waffled. Everyone expected him to be this force, and he wasn't. So.
Well, and that's another thing too, is when they had Licorice, they brought Fudge in because of Licorice, but Licorice has always been a stable top laner. The problem is the teams that he's had after C9 are some of the most random flip-flop coin flippy teams ever. I mean, he looks bad because he's getting 3v1, but where the hell is his team? So it's I don't know. I'm a big fan of Licorice. He's my hometown boy. I love that guy. But I mean, literally, he's hometown grown for me, and he's a phenomenal player. He's also such a nice guy. He literally, I don't think I've ever seen him like truly pissed off at anything.
No, 100%. Like, when it comes to NA in general, a lot of good players tend to end up on bad teams, and then they are just deemed bad because the team is bad.
Yep.
And that's such an unfortunate problem we've had. Now, what is exciting is a lot of these bad teams are starting to randomly look good because I feel like the player mindset has shifted in a more positive way. I am a little afraid of the possibility of selling teams. And
do you know what I think changed the player base?
No.
What I think changed the player base was when Bjergsen left TSM.
I can attest to that. Yeah.
He played with two different teams, and he actually got to play with tons of other players, and his culture rubbed off on a lot of these other players actually seeing it in person rather than just kind of looking from the outside in. And then you factor in, like Jensen, like Dignitas was hot garbage all year. Like they were terrible. But if you look at Dig, was Jensen ever the problem other than the one time he was on Oriana when he flashed forward and got 1v4'd?
No, Jensen
he wasn't the problem. Stan Torin,
arguably always the best player.
That was the worst season that guy's ever had, and what an awful way to retire. Like the guy was always just a solid jungler, and then this year, for whatever reason, he just was not playing well.
I think honestly, he should have retired before his dig stint because his mentality was already pretty broken from Team Liquid and
Yeah,
also his lack of success after TSM. I mean, being considered the best jungler for a long time, or even second best behind Blabber at a point, um, and still making finals, but then never quite getting the trophy again.
yeah.
I mean, that's going to eat away at you a
No,
ton.
for sure it is.
Um,
And that's why I think Bjergsen retired. He's just like, you know what? I'm not going to have the success because the game has changed, the players have changed, the orgs have drastically changed.
yeah.
I genuinely think, like, here's a question for you, Kimmer. Do you think, and now I've said this a couple of times before, and I think somebody like Steve or somebody needs to step in and say, hey, we're not going to do secret scrims anymore. Let's theory craft the entire league. Let's elevate the league up so that we can compete internationally. We don't have the player base. We don't have the team fighting teams and stuff like that. So, what do you think if one of the team owners or leaders or whatever stood up and said, "Hey, we're going to invite all 10 teams to our training facility. We're going to spend an entire day once a week just theory crafting shit and playing games and leveling up the entire league." So that when we do go to international, we are sending our absolute best because they're the ones who've taken that theory, they've mastered it, and they've shown it on stage.
I like that. The only problem is ego, for sure.
Oh,
I feel
100%.
like
But seriously, if we can barely make quarters, the ego needs to drop.
no, it does. I do like it. And I think this might be happening. I'm not sure though. I did read some rumors on it. Another rumor that we might be merging with the Brazil League, like all the South American leagues, to make it one big super region in a way, and to where it's going to be like, I don't know if they're going to compete together, but from what it sounds like they are, but they'll be able to practice a lot together, and it's just more teams. It gives a broader audience to a broader work. Like work, you know what I mean? Work share with
so similar to Korea and China, where they have their super server.
Yeah,
with both
something similar
both
to
players
that.
on. Yeah, I don't think the leagues will ever compete against each other unless the LCS really, really falters. But the super server, I quite like that idea because there's a ton of Brazilian players.
A ton.
And I genuinely think we need a good player base. Like the problem in North America is we get distracted by a shiny game and then we off. Like how many players have we talked about who go and play Baldur's Gate 3 while they're supposed to be scrimming? You know, mind you, having Wonder in NA, that'd be par for the course. He's the only player I've ever heard of who can play another game, not play a single game of League, and come back better than he was before.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if he's got like some little switch in his brain. Like he's the only player that I've ever heard do that. Oh yeah, staying up till 2:00 in the morning playing World of Warcraft. Did you play any League? Just on Thursday. Games on Friday, and holy shit, he's smashing everybody. Like he is the enigma of the entire thing. So for those of you who follow esports, that's kind of our twist on it. Unless you guys had anything else, we can move on to our next section here.
I do actually want to bring up just one quick thing.
Sure.
Because I just was looking at like the changes. This is a confirmed change, and I have heard him talk about this. Perks is now officially a free agent from Vitality, and he is, from what he said, willing to come back to North America and play.
Mm-hmm.
So he's
definitely. Perks' problem in NA was the fact that they wouldn't let him wear a hat while he was recovering from eye surgery.
Oh wow! I did not know that.
When they were in the spring finals, the one that they played outside, because they had the venue, but there was obviously COVID, they couldn't have people. He was wearing a hat on stage, and the reason was because he had just had eye surgery and was just about to, and it took the league officials like 6 weeks or something to give him the okay to do that. So he was performing way under because he couldn't see because the lights were burning his eyes or some shit. He's like, I just want to play League and I want to be on a good team. But after leaving G2 And after his stint on Cloud9, I'm pretty sure he's going to be like Jensen, where it'll be like, who wants me? And then I have to work on myself.
Yeah.
Perks is
No, I
another
can
one.
see that.
Perks is another kind of player that I really like in terms of his attitude. He has an ego, but it's for himself, not for the rest of us. He's just a super nice, competitive guy, just like Bjergsen. You know, like the best creme de la creme players. You look at Faker, you look at
Yeah.
BDD, Scout. They're so critical of themselves and they don't give a shit about anyone else and they don't talk shit about anyone else that
Yeah.
their hard work shows. You know, the example I always use is when Double Lift was on Team Liquid and he said, "Oh yeah, TSM's boosted." And then Bjergsen's like, "Oh, well, I guess I'll show him on the Rift." The very next day, they smashed an undefeated TL in 21 minutes.
Yeah, right.
So
No, it's a enigma. Perks and Bjergsen are both enigmas in their own right.
yeah, and I genuinely think Perks can come back to form. I think what his problem is he needs to stop worrying about carrying the team and worrying about carrying himself. And
Agreed.
unfortunately, the way that the game has evolved, it requires people to consider the team. But I think the team needs to worry about Perks. I don't think Perks needs to worry
Yeah.
about the team. Play through your laner. That's what made Evil Geniuses so successful. They played through JoJo, they played through Danny, and they were very successful at it. So you have to find that more supportive role.
Agreed. All
All
right.
right.
I think we're ready to move past the league stuff now.
Well, speaking of League, as one of the most toxic games in all of video gaming, which is a load of bullshit because they're all fucking toxic.
Yep.
I kind of want because I mean you're older than Kimmer, so you come from like a middle generational point. I'm considerably older than the pair of you. I come from an entirely different generation of gaming. So I was going to use the sniper war controversy to kind of launch this. So for those of you who don't know, super famous gamer who turned into a YouTuber reactionary personality ended up doxing Jack Films by showing up at his house at like after 10 o'clock at night saying, "Oh, let's talk like adults," because he's been critical of her stealing other people's content and using it for her own gain and all these things. Drama shit I really don't care about. But the fact that a personality is doxing somebody,
Hmm.
the fact that they're showing it to 5 or 6 million people, you have the swatters out there, like this toxic gaming thing really, really has evolved because in my day, multiplayer was everybody sitting on the same couch. If you were lucky to have a game that had 4 controllers,
Yeah.
you know, the Super Nintendo extension thing, and you know, for those of you who grew up with a 64, already had 4 ports, all that kind of stuff. So the person you were mad at was sitting like 2 feet away from you. And most of the time it was controllers that got damaged. Then, of course, you know, you got your Mario parties. And then with the advent of online gaming and voice comms, I can't remember which one was the first one. I might have been Call of Duty was like the first like really bad toxic game with voice comms. I could be wrong on that. I never played a lot of consoles after I turned into a PC guy. But the toxicity in gaming is really, really, really bad, which is kind of sad because if you look at the gaming community as a whole, as and we know, like we're part of the gaming community, how many genuine angry assholes do you know, or people who just get angry because they're competitive? It's almost always the competitive side, right? Like we know a lot of gamers. I could easily find like 20 people who I'd be like, this person's really nice, like just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I know a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
Um,
And yet, whenever we're doing co-ops or games, we always get paired with that one asshole who
yeah,
has to spew every racial, sexist, misogynistic bullshit comment out there, and then they get to continue playing.
No,
yeah.
100%.
It's kind of like like League. It's like there's a ton of good players, but then there's like there's like not a small few toxic players, but then they get everyone in trouble. They ban like they fuck everyone. You
Yeah,
know.
and like speaking, we'll use League as an example. We're already talking about it. I haven't played a normal game in 5 years
That's
because
fair.
I got killed in my last game a minute and a half in against a Nautilus and a Caitlyn. I got hooked through the minion wave, which was bullshit. I still call bullshit on that. And I died. And then my support got so mad at me because for some reason I was playing AD carry. I don't play AD carry anymore. He literally left the bot lane for the game, but it was my
Nice.
fault.
Wow.
And I'm just like, so I reported him, and then I ended up getting reported. And then they checked the game or whatever, and they lifted my report within like an hour or two or something like that. Clearly, they watched the VOD and went, like, this guy's not doing anything wrong.
Right.
But the support left the lane, and I'm just like, the fuck? Like, okay, so I died. I'm not a good player. And also, right, like now I have a busted wrist, so I'm even worse than I was before. Right. So I'm like, if I'm going to play normals, I'm going to get a 5-man group, whether it's you guys or whoever, and I'd be like, let's have some fun. Let's play all like fucking tanks and just make it so unbelievably hard for them to win. Or let's play a global comp where every single team has like, that's fun gaming. That's what gaming is supposed to be. But this toxic competitive shit, if you're trying to be pro, I understand the competitive nature. But how many times have we heard, and again, we'll use League as an example, where everybody blames the jungler for your misplay?
Hmm.
I don't want to. I don't want to even get into that because I'm a jungle main.
Exactly.
So
Right. So if I'm in a 2v2 and we die because we overextend, and you're on the other side of the map, why the
It's my
fuck would I
fault.
blame you? Why the fuck would I blame you? You can't be everywhere
No,
at
it's my
once.
fault. No, it's always the jungler's fault.
Yeah.
I-
Just like
Always
just like
his
a
fault.
relationship, it's always my fault. I mean, it's always the men's guy's fault.
I will never flame my jungler after watching Broxa and seeing how he plays, because the amount of work and preparation that goes into being a jungler,
Fucking bullshit.
laners don't understand, and laners don't understand. Like, everyone's like, oh, support is so easy. Shout out to Aframu. And it is easy, but if you're a roaming support, it is insanely hard because now you're keeping track of timers. You're trying to gank the right way. All those kinds of things. And people are like, oh, what are you doing? Well, if we're not a team and we're not all on comms to each other, why are you flaming the other guy who doesn't know what you're thinking and doing?
Yeah.
Mhm.
If all 5 of you are in comms and I go, hey, Kimmer, I need you to gank bot, and you're like, fuck that shit, I'm taking the enemy red buff. Dude, like, now I can flame my jungler because clearly I'm asking for help. But if you're like, hey, I'm diving top, and I'm like, what are you doing top? I need you down here. Well, then I need to play safe, right?
Yeah.
So for me, like, the toxic gaming thing, I don't understand, because I grew up in an era of, I was just happy to have a video game. Like, the very first game I was given as a kid was Mega Man 2 at Christmas in 1988.
Yeah,
Very
see,
first game that was given to me.
for me, like, obviously I can't point out exactly where toxic gaming came from. Because like you're saying, growing up, it was all in person, and online gaming was just a dream. And for some, not even a dream. Like, video games were kind of the peak, you know, where it seemed like this is as far as we're gonna go. This is as far as gaming is gonna go. And like, just outside of the toxic, now we see games that look like movies and everything like that. So it's obviously it's come a long way. But then stepping back into the online realm, you would think it would translate so easily, but just like in real life, there's jealousy. There's the fact that people consider people to be dumb, etc., without really understanding who people are. And
Yep.
unfortunately, in gaming, people don't feel like they have the time to take to learn who people really are and understand why they were doing things the way that they were doing them. They just instantly jump to, wow, you're retarded. Why would you do that?
Well, and that's the thing though too, is like one of the things I really hate are people who say, "Oh, you're not a good gamer. You know, why did I get paired up with you?" Did you ever think that maybe you're not a good gamer? You
Yeah,
know,
right.
maybe you're not good at the game. My like, I'm going to use League as an example for our video game talk today, but like, look at Shocks. All right, we all love Shocks, she's the queen of esports. She's been around for 10 years. Fucking one of the hardest working personalities in esports. And what a lot of people don't understand, like, oh, you don't know anything about gaming, you're too old, which is a thing now. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, yeah, she's ridiculously gorgeous, but she's also one of the hardest working people in esports. Like, if you follow her, you see how hard that woman works. And here's a question for you: did you guys know that she was a ranked Call of Duty player in Europe, top
No,
500?
did not know that.
I did not know that.
She plays video games and she is fucking good at them. She does not play as much as she used to, of course, because she's traveling all over the world doing esports, being a fucking boss. But then you have all these people like, oh, you shouldn't be in esports. Go make me a fucking sandwich, bitch. Like, what the
Hmm.
hell? It's like all these people like, oh, you know, like we shit on Fudge earlier. I'm going to use him as an example. If you say that he's a shit player, for Cloud9, he is. But let me ask you this: are you better than Fudge?
No, not even close. I would
Mm,
get
nah, I'm
dumpstered
better
by
than
Fudge.
Fudge. That's for sure. No, I'm just kidding.
But that's the thing though, is like, you look at NRG, they got knocked out of Worlds. Spoiler. Okay, so they made it to the top 8 teams
In the world, by
in
the
the
way.
world.
Yeah,
There's a lot of teams in the world.
There's over 120 million League of Legends players, and they're in the top 100.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I
The
don't care.
world.
I don't care. I don't like, the team might look like shit and play like shit, but you put any of us on the other side of the rift against them, and we are getting our asses handed to us left, right, and center. I'd be celebratory if I got a kill on fucking Palafox, let alone win the game, right?
Well, and it's like you'll see people who are like, I'm Challenger in YouTube comments or whatever, so I know what I'm talking about. It's like most challengers that would play against professionals will absolutely get destroyed because the
Mm-hmm.
difference between a challenger and professional is still so extraordinarily high because professionals still see the game at an even higher level than a challenger does. A
Well,
challenger might just have hands for all we know,
or is a one trick, and that's the thing though too,
or is
is
a one
like,
trick. Yeah,
that's the thing though. That's why Riot allows Diamond and higher to be pro players, because just because you're a Diamond player doesn't mean you can't reach Challenger. Maybe you were working your job or something like that. You don't have the time to put in to reach Challenger,
yeah,
or
exactly.
you're one of those people who like, and this often happens with supports, is they will play but they can't win because, you know, they're doing really well, like they're getting S rank and all of their champion abilities and stuff like that, but the team around them isn't, so they're getting rewarded for having a good mind of the game while improving their skills, right? And not only that too, I mean, I've seen so many, like there's a lot of like 12-year-old kids out there who pick up the game, they go into ranked after playing like 5 normal games, and next thing you know, they're fucking smurfing in their diamond 1 by the end of the week,
Mm.
right? So it's very much a case of like, you know, people who are good at it are good at it. What I don't like is the people who shit talk and spend their time flaming everybody. Like, if you're that angry, you're not having fun, back off the
Yeah,
game, take a break, go have a Kit Kat. We're not sponsored by
yeah,
Kit Kat, by the way. Kit Kat, if you want to sponsor us, we're right here.
please.
As I go knocking shit off my desk. Okay, so um I don't know. Last thoughts on toxic gaming. Where are we sitting at? I personally think it's atrocious and should get better. I'm hoping that more companies are going to start taking their ability to either ban players or put all the shitty players on one server and have the rest of us, you know, have fun. I like that idea of, okay, we'll take your money, but you're an asshole player. You've been reported as an asshole. You were seen as an asshole. You're going to the asshole server to join the rest of the assholes.
So I will just throw in my last like little 2 cents on it. I'll say Riot is one of the worst when it comes to pretending to punish toxicity, because you look at somebody now, while I've been in full support of how Tyler One has reformed and everything, you look at someone like him who was banned multiple different ways, left, right, and center for toxicity. And while he has done better, he still has his moments. It's like,
Mhm.
it's pretty clear that Riot is so unbelievably not unforgiving, forgiving for toxic players, and just assumes everybody and their mom could reform, to the point where Tyler One even hosted league events sanctioned by Riot. And it's like, that's so ridiculous. Again, full support for Tyler One's reform and everything, but at the same time, it's just proof that Riot is willing to give too many players second
I, I,
opportunities
I
that
would I would
truly don't
argue
deserve them.
against that a little bit. Like, first of all, I mean, people should be able to reform if you can show that you can be a good player. Like, I have no problems having the ban unlifted. Um,
Yeah,
but in the case of Tyler One specifically, he had such a league following. He was good for the brand,
for
and
sure.
once he proved that he could be a better boy, then yeah, remove the thing. But he's one of the few people who had a lifetime ban.
Yeah, that's
And
fair enough.
but the thing is he's also a brand ambassador, whether you like it or not. And so Riot
Yeah,
really has to walk, like, being a marketer myself, like, I understand the psychology behind it, but I am glad that they waited to until he got better, and then they said, okay, let's bring you into the fold.
yeah,
Um, it's really the only logical mistake without looking like a giant, like, asshole donut, right?
fair
So,
enough.
all right, that's enough of league talk, toxicity, and all that fun stuff. I don't know. Do you want to talk about anime? Is anime good? Do we like anime here?
No,
Yeah,
anime
I
sucks.
mean, it's just mid-season, so it's just like progressing of story on most animes. Fear In, I think I'm saying it right, is super good.
Oh, it's so
Um,
good.
uh, that's like the one that's like the furthest. That's like episodes deep. It's like the rest are only still like 5 episodes in, so we're still trying to get a feel of the newer season anime.
Yeah,
Ragna Crimson still going super tough.
I
Uh,
still have to watch that one.
oh man, it's
I will have to give it a
so
shot.
good. And then Undead Unluck is pretty good. If you guys haven't watched that yet.
I
Uh,
will have to give it a shot as well.
That one is on my list. I haven't got to it yet. I kind of backtracking, so not new this season, uh, but season 2 this year is Bofuri. Um, I didn't want to get hurt, so I maxed out my defense. For a video game MMO anime, it is complete batshit bonkers. Is it fantastic? No. Is it good? Yes. Uh, my brother and I were talking about Maple last night, and she's basically a lucky airhead who is an evil little sadist bitch. Holy shit. The things that she does, just like, if you're looking for a good cackle, it's worth it. Um, I have dropped, oh God, what's it called? Uh, the Noble, something about teaching her to be naughty. It had an interesting premise, but the shtick got old so fast. I made it about 4 episodes in before I dropped it. Um, it just it's the same thing every single episode. It's very much a white knight syndrome, overpowered guy. Um, maybe good for an afternoon watch when the season's done. What else? Ooh, my dark horse of the season. I told Kimmer about this. I don't know if you've watched it yet, Kimmer. Is Protocol Rain. That
Yeah, I haven't
anime,
watched it yet.
that anime, I was expecting it to be meh. It is so much better than I thought it was going to be. For those of you who don't know, Protocol Rain is an anime about an esports team, kind of segueing from our previous discussion. And the way that it's done, the way that it's presented, for anybody who's ever been to esports or follows esports or even just likes good character development, it is really good. It is literally like the one that flew under my radar. Didn't even watch the trailer, but my wife and I, we always try to watch every first episode of the new season. And we watched this and we looked at each other like, this is actually really good. It's about 7 or 8 episodes in now. I'm quite enjoying it. That's my dark horse. Trying to think of the other ones that are new that are good.
Attack on Titan final episode comes out today. I mean, November 4th is the day we're recording this, so it comes out today. I'm trying to figure out what time.
Oh God, I cannot wait to that be done and over with.
It's the final episode.
Yeah, right. I'll believe it when I see it. Oh, surprise! Season 5.
3:45 p.m. Eastern, so that means it drops at 12:45 Pacific time. I'm setting my alarm. I'm going to wake up so I can not watch it for another 3 more hours because the servers are going to be crashed because everyone's going to be trying to watch at the same goddamn time.
It
drops! Finally!
I watched 4 episodes and then dropped it back in 2013.
I watched 15 episodes and then dropped it. I made it further than expected.
Well, Kimmer and I, referencing a previous podcast, we were talking about how, you either love it or you hate it. It's one of those animes, but it's one of the few animes in the last decade that has like fucking just fire openings. We were talking a lot about music.
Yeah.
And I have to say this season, there's no good openings to any of the anime. Like even Kenshin's second opening is jazz. I'm like, you don't associate samurai with jazz.
No,
First season was techno.
I mean, talking about good openings, how about One Punch Man? Just what?
Yeah, well,
right into it.
If you know anything about Jam Project, they are all 5 or 6 of them. They're all seasoned musicians who have done multiple anime openings. In fact, one of the male singers is the guy who did Chalala from Dragon Ball. Oh God, what's her name? I can't remember her name, but she played Amelia in Slayers, and she was basically taught by Megumi Hayashibara, who still in my mind is the queen of anime openings. But
so, Hanroll, I don't know if you personally watch any sports animes. I know Kim does.
I personally watch anything that's good, but I will admit I have not watched any sports anime in quite some time. The last one I attempted to watch was Prince of Tennis, and that was during the initial run.
Prince of Tennis is a gem in its own right, but what I was going to talk about is Haikyuu's openings. They start off pretty lackluster, but then once you hit season 2, it's very excellent. But the anime itself is just very good, even if you're not.
Yeah, my wife loves that anime, and those openings play in my house quite a lot. My wife listens to a lot more J-rock, pop, K-pop than I do. I'm a metalhead, so I listen to a lot of loud, obnoxious things.
Yeah. Stepping away from just openings, talking about some of the animes that currently I'm watching and technically catching up to. JJK season 2, obviously highly anticipated season 2 released earlier this year, is doing very well. Unfortunately, spoiler, Gojo is sealed, which really makes me sad, which I knew was going to happen because of the manga, but still makes me sad because he is my favorite character in the anime, like I'm sure he is for most. Well, I wouldn't say most, but some.
I haven't watched Jujutsu Kaisen. I watched some of it. I ended up dropping it. I found it to be I don't know. I'll probably finish it later. I'm I'm one of those people who doesn't drop into the hype. So for sometimes it takes me a
Sure.
while to get into things. My question to you
Hmm.
is, and I want this to be very quick because otherwise this is going to be a 20-minute conversation.
Sure.
What do you think about the controversy about the episode this season?
Which controversy are you? I'm
Oh,
not 100.
the
percent
how what's his face had the glow up, and then the very next thing in the fight, he's no longer glowed up because they used a different animation team, so he's like just regular.
Mm,
The
being
the
that I
blonde
don't.
guy.
Oh, not on me.
No, no, yeah.
Man, I don't know how to feel about it since I haven't known about it. I'll have to, because I haven't watched all of
Well,
like
s-
where it's at yet and
so the
looked into it
controversy
enough.
is that the animation isn't
Hmm.
as good as it was in the previous one because they have multiple teams working on this, right?
Sure.
And the fans were all mad at the animator, and then he was getting death threats, and now they're all mad at Mappa because the way that they treat their animators. Let's face it, Mappa is a fantastic animation studio in terms of quality, but they treat the
Hmm.
creators of the anime like shit, which is why the One Punch Man left Mappa and why it took so long
Yeah.
for season 2 to come out is because that was a whole legal thing. The way they treat their animators and their staff is just disgusting. Um,
So,
so what happened is
um,
there's a very famous panel in the manga that everyone's looking forward to, and Nanami
yeah.
was supposedly glowed up and all sexy and stuff, and they were all focused on him, and then he looked like normal Nanami, and everybody was pissed. And I'm like, do you guys not remember the Taiwanese animation team of Naruto with Pain?
Yeah. Right.
Like, you guys are like, he's normal. What's wrong with that? Go
Yeah.
and rewatch
That
the
pain
Pain
was
fight.
awful.
Oh, it's such a meme too. But Naruto, they were pumping out an episode a week, so they had like 3 to 6 different animation studios animating an episode at a time.
Yeah.
Uh, and now they're complaining that Mappa has 2 animation teams, and that this guy didn't look as glowed up. Like, fuck off.
I don't know. I
Agree
now
with
that
that.
you've explained it, it's yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's kind of like fuck off. Like I'm animation is very important, but at the same time, like for me, the story is much more important.
Hmm.
If the story is good enough, I can get past the animation to a degree. Now, if the animation is now really, really bad, then it's like I don't care how good the story is. Then it's just like, nope, this isn't
Well,
worth it. But in JJK's aspect, the story's gripped me enough that I can get past one scene that isn't
yeah.
animated correctly according to the masses.
Well, and that's just it. You're always going to have controversy. At the end of the day, it's all telling a good story. Like, so for example, if you want a good story, now granted it didn't get a season 2, so it does kind of end on a lackluster note. Um, but if you want a good story, different animation, but the music is fucking fire. And I've told Kimmer this before. I'm going to recommend this again. Look up Beck or Mongolian chalk squad in fucking US, whatever. They even make a joke about that in the anime because when the manga was coming out, it was renamed Mongolian Chop Squad, and so they make fun of like when Beck sends their single albums out into the US. They're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, we're Mongolian Chop Squad there. And I'm pretty sure it had something to do with the fact that Jeff Beck was a musician in North America. Not that the Japanese are ever ashamed of ripping off other people, but you can't touch any Japanese properties.
Yeah.
I actually got a point on that little factoid. So Beck is about a bunch of teenagers who form a band. All right. So literally the whole anime is music. The opening is banger. You have Asian Kung Fu Generation. No, not maybe. I can't remember now. You have like a whole bunch of bands who did guest spots. And this goes back to the 90s and early 2000s of the voice actors being musicians themselves. One of the things Kimmer and I talked about last time was in the 90s, tons of anime had their voice actors sing the openings and ending credits, right? Now, the
Mhm.
thing about Beck is the animation is very different. Like when I first watched it, I'm like, I can't watch this. This animation is terrible. And then my wife was watching it in the other room, and I heard the music, and I'm like, maybe I should give this a try. And it's one of my favorite animes. I
Nice.
still have the soundtrack playing on my soundtrack like 20 years later.
I mean, that's fair.
That's fair.
But my little tidbit that I was going to say on the copyright thing, just as a little tidbit, there is an opening for Sayuki, which is an anime famous for taking long gaps between seasons. They just had a season come out last year after like 12 years of nothing. Um, the bad guys come from China and um, attack the main characters every other episode, but it's taken them, I don't know, 70 to 100 episodes, and they're only halfway to China. It's kind of weird. But there's an opening which has the guitar riff and opening from "Eat the Rich" by Aerosmith.
Oh, dang.
And as soon as I heard it, I was like, "Oh!" I was like, "What?" I'm like, "This is Aerosmith." And she's like, "No, it's not." And then the song starts in Japanese. I'm like, did they take this? So yeah, it's kind of a little tidbit, but you find stuff like that all the time. Helsing had Shine by Mr. Big. Um,
Oh,
most of
dang.
most of Mr. Big actually live in Japan. In fact, Billy Sheenan, the bass player, he's played with Ayumi Hamazaki. I think he's even played with like Kotakumi and um, Utada Hikaru, a bunch of others.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of interesting. Now, Kimmer, you had a mission last time. Do you remember which anime you were supposed to watch? No.
No,
Okay.
no, I don't.
All right. Well, if you remember, you were going to watch something as soon as you were on your weekend, and I, for the life of me, can't remember what it is now. I'll have to go check the tapes. Uh, there's
Oh,
too much.
what was it?
There's like this is an anime fan's heaven because there's too much good stuff. Um, Back in my day, it was VHS tapes every 6 months, if you were lucky, and maybe a DVD box set off Amazon or some Chinese bootleg website. Um, Now it's like, oh, I'm going to pay $10 a month and I have access to thousands of hours of anime, which
Mm-hmm.
is just super nice. Because up
It's a
here in
blessing.
Canada, I never had Toonami. I didn't have all that stuff, so I had to find my own way. Um, so before we end off the cast here, because we are coming up on an hour, I have a very good question for you guys. If you were to choose a offshoot genre of anime to be your favorite, so not shonen, so no One Piece,
Hmm.
um,
Sad.
what what genre of anime would you recommend as being your favorite? Like, I mean, I say offshoot. I mean, I suppose you could include isekai, because isekai is a very broad genre. Um, but staying away from like the main super popular anime, what's a hidden gem you guys got? What's something that's something that most people haven't watched that you think everybody should watch?
Black Bullet. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that. It's like
No.
13 episodes,
Yep,
gas packed of an anime.
it's right up there with Black
Um,
Lagoon.
man, I don't know if it's like a hidden gem to everybody because it does have a bit of a following, but like I really like it and it's a little out there. But Food Wars is
Food Wars is very popular for people who like fan servicey anime.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, Lust Life. Jeez.
It's almost like it's in your
And
name.
no,
Yeah. Yeah, what are you trying to say
I'm
here,
trying to.
huh? What are
I'm,
you trying to
I'm trying. Oh, another one that isn't like overly popular, at least for the first season. I mean, I wouldn't say not overly, but it doesn't have like the highest highs. Is The Devil's a Part Timer. The first season is very, very good.
Oh,
Oh,
we've talked
the whole
about that plenty
the
of
whole
times.
anime is good. Yep.
Yeah, I
Does
haven't
this
watched
season?
season 2 yet.
Uh, season 2 is kind of a setup. You can tell that they're kind of coming full circle. So
Sure.
it is a little bit of a different watch. But again, I mean it is an isekai, but it's a reverse isekai,
Fair.
right? So my hidden gems, I've got two. One from this season. I'm actually quite enjoying. My daughter left my nest and came back as an S rank adventurer. I like it because it's a fantasy anime. I don't know if it's an isekai because as of right now, we don't know if the main character has been isekai'd.
Okay.
Because the first episode starts with him finding her in the forest as a baby, but we don't know if she was abandoned. We don't know if she was isekai'd. Nothing. We have no clue. Um, and that one I like it because and Kimmer can attest this. I stay away from the main animes because they follow a lot of the formulaic tropes. So for me, I'm always looking for something what's enjoyable, what's different. And this one is kind of like for a fantasy anime, it's a breath of fresh air because it's not overly serious. Um, the characters are interesting. There's a growth journey there. It's a little creepy and weird, which is kind of why I like it because it is different. It's not brother marrying sister creepy, but still,
Yep.
for this season, it's just a fun one. Oh, and Kingdoms of Ruin was the one that Kimmer was supposed to watch.
That's right. Yes, I'm gonna watch that. I'll watch that today.
So the first
So
2 or 3 episodes are a slow burn. You get to episode 5, and you're just like, so good so
So
far.
I'll watch
speaking
it
on
today.
the brother sister creepy thing, an anime that I almost got into because it seemed very interesting at first was No Game No Life.
Oh,
But
that one's
then,
fantastic.
okay, for me it was just too much between the brother and sister, like overly loving each other in the first few episodes because like I tried watching it with my wife and she's not the biggest anime fan, but it seemed enough like SAO where it was like,
Yeah.
she liked that. Another
Well,
video game
l-
anime that seemed similar, but then the brother and sister was like, "I love you," and
the
I was
the
just like, "No."
the sad part is if you watch it towards episode 8 or 10, you find out that they're not actually brother and sister.
Ah,
He is
okay,
adopted by the
okay.
family. So they're not actually brother and sister. And the
So it's
reason
just
that they are that way is because of the environment they grew up in. All they had was each other.
oh, okay,
Which is
gotcha.
which is why she has no problems with him being a pervert with other women, but they have to
Yeah.
be approved by her first.
Okay.
Um,
See, not watching further definitely can hinder an opinion for sure.
exactly.
Facts. Talking shit about One Piece, asshole.
I watched 4 episodes. It's not my favorite.
I'm just playing.
So back to shitting on One Piece. Um, no,
Wow.
the other hidden gem, one that I know aired on Toonami. I've been watching a lot of sci-fi anime as well. Go and watch Outlaw Star.
Okay.
So if you like the old school Trigun, if you like Cowboy Bebop, this came out around the same time. It's actually a really good '90s anime. It did air on Toonami, as I said. It's both the voice acting in English and Japanese are both like you can watch it in either or. Doesn't bother me. For those of you who know me, I watch mostly subs, but that's because I grew up in the '90s when the dubs were actually mostly decent, except for Viz, because after or was it ADV? Whoever did Evangelion, once they did Evangelion, every anime they produced after it had the entire Evangelion cast in every anime. It was kind of ridiculous. Um, but yeah, check out Outlaw Star. It's a space anime. It's really good. Um, it's actually kind of a fantasy space anime. Yeah, let's call it a space opera. That's my hidden gem.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I just I want to look something up really quick. What? Okay. When is this? No, that's so unfortunate. So another, I wouldn't say hidden gem necessarily because I know it was popular enough for people to want a season 2, but sadly, it doesn't sound like it's ever coming. 2011 is when it came out. Dead Man Wonderland.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely loved that anime, and it's so unfortunate that they just left it where it was because there's so many things that they different directions they could have went with it, and then they're just like, nope, no season 2.
Yep.
So
Well, there's plenty of animes, particularly from the 2000s and early 2010s.
mhm.
Tenjo Tenja is probably one of mine. That anime with the first season is basically just a recap of what happened to their brother to explain the story. They got to the end of the first season and then they never renewed it. And yet,
Kim, do
Air
you have?
Gear. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask him if he has an anime like that.
Not off the top of my head.
His anime won't end.
Nope.
It's anime.
Nope. It's never gonna end. Hopefully, it never does.
In infinite seasons.
I hope so. I really hope so. Even though it's in its
Oh,
final saga.
and
But
because I just was looking into like similar animes to Dead Man's Wonderland, I will bring up one anime that unfortunately had a season 2. Granted, um, it it didn't need it, and unfortunately, the season 2 was just not good because they basically just copy and pasted the idea from season 1. But it's kind of like, hey, look at my homework, but don't copy the answers. Changed a little bit so no one notices. Psychopaths. Season 1 was phenomenal. Season 2 was literally a carbon copy in the beginning, and it just didn't hold up.
My wife says that if you get through season 2 and then watch the movie, it's worth it.
Yeah. Ah, man, see, that's so tough because season 2 was a very hard pill to swallow. So maybe I will give it a shot.
How Not to Summon a Demon Lord was the same. Season 1,
Ah,
fucking banger season. Season 2, what the fuck is this?
yeah.
All right, I suppose we should end it there. Kimmer's got to go to bed.
yeah, I do.
So hopefully we have a schedule now, provided Kimmer doesn't get COVID again, jerk.
I shouldn't.
Yeah, you piece of shit getting sick.
So we should be recording the same time every week. If you have any comments, questions, please let us know. I will be adding Griff's socials and stuff down below if he gives them to me. And hopefully next time we'll have a camera and we'll be the bearded trio. And
Yes.
if you guys have any anime recommendations, if you like us talking more about esports or anything like that, feel free to, by all means, just leave us comments. We got a couple of comments on some previous videos. How much they like the freeform style, which I really like because I am not I'm a chaos goblin, and I'm openly going to admit it.
Chaos.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are gamers and want a recommendation, the remaster remake of Star Ocean: The Second Story R just dropped this week. Get it. It is the best Star Ocean out there. I don't care what anyone says. Till the End of Time is also right up there. They're like 1% different in terms of how awesome they are. So go check that out.
You can also play Raid Shadow Legends #1 MOBA. Fun.
Hey,
Oh my gosh.
when they sponsor when they sponsor us, we can talk about that.
All right. That's fair.
All right, you guys have a good one, and hopefully we will see you next week, and hopefully we'll be doing this every week from here on out. So cheers.
Peace.
Bye.